And what do we mean by content? That's an interesting thing to say. Well, in terms of content, language teachers work with textbooks whose objectives are linguistic because they're paid to have linguistic objectives. That's fine. Right? Subject teachers have objectives that are conceptual and procedural. If you remember the PSOE Reforma in 1991, if you were around, they talked about los tres bloques de contenido, or cuatro bloques. They talked about contenido conceptual, contenido procedimental. People have forgotten about this. It was actually a very good reforma. And I'm going to come back to these things today. But if you just look at that in football terms, subject teachers are winning. Language teachers are losing 2-1. They've got an away goal for the second leg. Why not have all three? Okay. Why not have all three of these things? This is what I'm going to look at today. And in fact, Keith and I are writing a book at the moment where we're talking about these three aspects of content being the things that you should be looking at. Bullock, this famous chap, said in 1975, LAC is language across the curriculum. The Bullock report terrified everybody when he said this. He said all teachers are language teachers. Well, he didn't mean you had to talk about the difference between the present perfect and the past simple. He didn't mean that. Now, what he meant was that you had to make, subject teachers had to try and make language salient. They had to make students realize that language has an impact on cognition. Of course it does. But it was misinterpreted slightly. So here's a quote for today. Look. If all teachers language teachers, are all language teachers content teachers? Vamos a ver. Let's have a look. This is a contrast between a CLIL objective and a language teaching objective, and you might think it's a bit cruel, but anyway. Sorry, I've got to keep going on my Aquarius. Well, I know this isn't a very good objective. You wouldn't say learn an objective. You'd say learn to use or something. I know learn's not a good word in objective, but I couldn't change it for the reason of this. So, in your textbook, in the language class, the underlying objective is a second conditional, and the chapter is about global warming. The previous one was about Britney Spears, of course, but no problem. Poor old Britney Spears. You can't sell textbooks. The publishers will tell you now, no textbook in secondary now can be published without a chapter on global warming, possibly without Britney Spears. But global warming is necessary. So, obviously, if I were president of the world, I would. So the project in this very short chapter is at the end, students have got in groups, and they're going to present to the other class their ideas about how they will save the world from global warming. So one of them is going to be the president. So if I were president of the world, I would reduce carbon emissions, or I would do whatever. No, that I would. Okay, no problem. But the assessment criteria, the kids all say, ¿qué tenemos que estudiar? The English students always say this. And the English teacher says, nothing. And they say, ¿cómo que nothing? But why do you say nothing? Well, because of course, the content, if you say to them, I'm going to examine you on the difference between the present perfect and the past simple. Sorry to keep saying that. Well, okay, they can go and they can revise that. But here, if you're really doing this, then the assessment criteria are still linguistic. So the student will say, who cares? Al carajo con el mundo. I can use a second conditional. But I hope you're laughing because you realize that this is true. The student, little by little, comes to realize that the content is actually only a vehicle for the language objectives. And really, there's no need to engage with the content, really. It's, well, carbon emissions, don't cut down so many trees, just that. And my test is on the second conditional. The CLIL objective, or the objective of the English teacher who takes on more content is this. This is the CLIL objective. You're going to save the Earth. Same objective. Same topic. Same language structure, plus other ones, no? The assessment criteria, are conceptual and procedural. Yeah? They are going to be judged on their ability to save the Earth. And how are they going to do that? They're going to use the second conditional. If they're going to do it efficiently, they're going to have to use the language which occurs in this context, in this discourse context, to save the planet. But they are not going to be assessed linguistically. They're going to be assessed conceptually and procedurally with the language, okay, as the vehicle. I insist that this is the future for language teaching, particularly in bilingual contexts. You know, why would you want to go back and test them on the second conditional? You can test them on it, but put it into a real, authentic context. I see some skeptical faces. I'll continue.